about this? Within like the past, couple of hours here, things are starting to heat up big time in the Atlantic.
I know. We've got an area to watch off the North Carolina coastline. And of course, there is always something cooking in the Atlantic this time of the year. The models are starting to indicate there could be some action after this area to watch.
Yes.
So we're going to dive right into it, I think.
Let's get into it. Yeah, we have Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross joining us this morning, saying that a disturbance is forecast to move off the African coast tomorrow and head in the general direction of the Caribbean. He's also said there's a broad consensus among various computer forecast models that this system will eventually develop into our next tropical storm or hurricane. So let's speak to him now. Joining us on the phone, talking about the state of the Atlantic, Bryan Norcross. Bryan, thanks so much for your time. First off, before we get to the area to watch, I want to know, so it looks like this next wave off the African coast is something to monitor.
Yeah, the big change that we've seen just over the last couple of days is that the long-range computer forecasts, both the traditional models, the ones we've looked at for some years, including the European model, and the new AI models, which actually go a little farther into the future, just from a broad consensus standpoint, show that something will develop out of this wave, this disturbance that will move into the central Atlantic. So on the current forecast, it'll be in the central Atlantic the middle of this coming week, and then take another half a week to a week or maybe even more to where it goes somewhere. There is no consensus on exactly where it's going to develop. All the way from the Gulf of Mexico to off the east coast of the U.S., but with this just real flip in the way that the long-range computer forecasts are analyzing the general atmospheric pattern as to whether it's conducive to development or whether it's suppressive of development. It's definitely showing that, at least the computers say, it will become more conducive to development about next week into the middle of August.
Well, let's go ahead and touch more on that because, Mr. Norcross, you have forgotten more than I've ever known about tropical systems and hurricanes. So what do you think is going on in the environment middle part of next week that would be potentially conducive for this thing to form? Is it the MJO and the rising air coming over from the EPAC? Is it the lack of dust that we're going to see eventually start to phase out? What are you seeing? What parameters are starting to present themselves for maybe a more favorable tropical condition?
Well, if you look in what's going on in the Pacific, both the central and eastern Pacific, we went through a period, if you recall, early in the year when the eastern Pacific just lit up with storm after storm after storm. And we thought at that time that the MJO, which is this pulse that goes around the Earth and alternately makes a certain zone conducive to development, and then it kind of moves on and suppresses in that zone. So just looking at the Eastern Pacific, it was super conducive, and then it went on and the Eastern Pacific shut off, and we thought it was going to move into the Atlantic and make the Atlantic more conducive. But the pulse just kind of fizzled out over Central America and never had a significant effect. Well, here we come again, and of course, over the Central Pacific south of Hawaii, suddenly that lit up, and we had Hurricane Iona, we had Tropical Storm Kaylee, and another system developing there. And now that's kind of shut off, and it's moved over to the eastern Pacific again, closer to Mexico. So another pulse seems to be coming along, the MJO, and there are some other factors that can come with that can make the MJO more effective or not. And so that combine that general movement in the Pacific toward the east, toward Central America, of that more conducive bubble, say, and if it continues like it normally does, it will move toward the Gulf and the Caribbean and the Atlantic here over the next couple of weeks. And combine that with what the long-range computer forecasts that look at the overall atmosphere and its conduciveness. And I would say that that's probably what's going on to make make the computer forecast respond that way. As far as the dust, this next tropical disturbance, the general consensus in the models is that it will gather enough moisture to fight back on the dust that's out there. There still is dust out there, but it will be affected and slowed down in its progress by fighting against the general dry air. I mean, we'll see. It's been this battle all year long with the Saharan dust and just general dry air and general high pressure across the tropical belt. But of course, we're moving in now. You know, just looking at the calendar, right? We're getting toward the middle of August. We're talking about, and generally in the middle of August, just the overall atmospheric pattern becomes more conducive for tropical systems to develop, and we expect that to happen anyway, just based on odds. But to combine all the factors that we're seeing, and you know, it looks like Mother Nature is operating more or less on schedule. But your questions are good about exactly why and how the dust that remains out there and the dry air and the negative factors are going to continue to affect or not affect these systems by the time another week and a half to 2 weeks comes around.
Yeah, Bryan, it's going to be real fascinating. Obviously, there's been talk also about what's called the Atlantic Nina. There's been a kind of a strip where it's been perhaps a little bit cooler than where we have been in parts of the MDR. I do want to bring things back just a little closer to home, Bryan. What are your thoughts within the past couple of hours? As you know, the National Hurricane Center has designated an area just off the North Carolina coast as an area that they're watching, giving it about a 20% chance of formation in the next 7. What say you on that system? Or on this?
Well, there's this persistent front that's going to sit down across the Gulf Coast, North Florida, South Georgia, and cause heavy rain, kind of a stretch of days of potentially heavy rain there. And the computer forecasts have been predicting since at least yesterday, maybe the day before, that low pressure was going to form off the Carolina coast and move on offshore. And the question was, well, it starts out as a non-tropical system, another one of these frontal low kind of systems, more like a nor'easter kind of system. But now, this time of year, when we have warm ocean waters, sometimes those systems can take on enough tropical characteristics to be considered a tropical system and add to our tropical system list if they happen to get winds up to 40 miles per hour. So the Hurricane Center just, you know, they put a 10 to 20% chance on it, not on the low pressure system forming. There's a high probability of that happening, but of it gaining tropical enough characteristics to meet that those criteria as it moves offshore. So it's no threat to land. It's more a technical, descriptive sort of forecast of what the meteorological aspects of the system might be moving forward.
So getting back to the wave that we were just discussing, does that signal maybe the more active period of the Atlantic? Is that sort of the green light for the MDR to open up and maybe stay open as we move forward into the rest of August and September, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know about in the rest of August or September, but usually the sort of enhanced period, if it is indeed the MJO moving over the Atlantic, lasts a week or two. So we would expect, if this is what's happening, for us to have this sort of peak of activity. And the long range computer forecasts actually show the disturbance coming off after this next one. So like late next week, a disturbance is forecast to move off of Africa, and that has a chance to develop as well. Again, what's happening here is whatever it's picking up on, these not just one computer forecast, but pretty much all of them are just showing this painting in the long range, many more systems scattered all over the place, but just many more systems showing a general supportive atmospheric pattern. Also showing, by the way, when you look at the moisture across the Atlantic Basin, much more moisture and much less dry air in the long range. So when I say the long range, I'm talking about the middle of next month, so a couple of weeks from now, and continuing into later in August. So we'll see if all this comes together, but this is the first time this season that we've seen this trend in the long-range computer models. They've been pretty silent with a couple small exceptions, but even the exceptions were low odds so far this hurricane season. This is the first time the odds have increased to something to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Fox Weather's hurricane expert Bryan Norcross. Bryan, thank you so much for your insight on that. Of course, this is going to be a continuing conversation in the days, weeks, and months to come. So, Bryan, thank you. We appreciate that.
It's just the beginning, Michael. It's just the beginning.
It is just the beginning. Those are going to do we'll have to quote that because he's very right on that.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting just looking at what is going on in not just our homegrown system that we have, but throughout the MDR. It's like a Congo line.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like, of little
waves coming
little
in.
waves off of Africa.
Back to back to back. And he just kind of said, I think in so many words, yeah, maybe this is the time of the year where, you know, the MDR opens up.
I mean,
Historically,
right
climatologically, it happens. And the two things that you need for a tropical system, moisture and the dry air to sort of phase out. And that's exactly what's going to be happening.
Yeah, and the temperatures in the sea surface temperatures are there as well. You don't have as many hostile winds upstairs. And it's crazy to me because you look at the start of the month. So here's basically where we are. And this is where we end. Look at that trajectory. I mean, it's straight up in terms of activity. So a lot that we're going to be keeping our eyes on. Fox Weather, your Hurricane HQ.